I was thinking the other day, I was watching a romantic comedy, and it was so easy the way the people talked about their sex. They were so comfortable in it. And I think sometimes if you watch a lot of TV or Netflix or whatever you're doing, listening to music, you start feeling annihilated. Like, wow, am I the only person that just isn't quite that comfortable? In fact, when I see people in my office, there's a lot of people who feel awkward about their sexuality. They just have never felt comfortable in it. And in fact, many couples I've seen who have been together more than 20 years, they don't talk about sex. They don't talk about what pleases them. They don't try new things. And so today I wanted to make a video about feeling awkward in sex, because I think we assume that most people dating may have a moment or two of awkwardness, but in fact, there's a lot of people that are awkward in sex, and the reason is because you never grow up, you never are fully complete with sexuality. And you may say, well, why is that? Well, the reason is because sexuality is one of those things that keeps changing as your body changes, as your mind changes. It's a growth mindset. And if you think about it, then the more we go through changes in our life, the more our sexuality is going to change as well, too. So I'm going to give you common things I see in my office that are more likely to kind of make awkwardness around sex more likely. And if you identify with one of these, then in the end, I'm going to help you as far as what you can do to handle it. So if you have a sexual dysfunction, if you have premature ejaculation or erection dysfunction, or you have trouble lubricating, or whatever, you have no libido, those kind of issues make you feel weird. If you have a low sex drive and you're growing up, you may wonder, am I really a heterosexual or am I something else? Confusion about that area because you don't feel real passionate or strongly can make you feel indifferent to it. And awkwardness comes when you start evaluating yourself, like, I don't know if I'll be able to perform. I don't know if I'll do it right. I don't know what will happen. And because of that, you set yourself up to fail. And so you're not going to attempt to have sex. You're not even going to broach the topic if you can avoid it. You have a religious upbringing, or your parents were ultra conservative and may have told you that sex was nasty or dirty. If you grew up in a home like this, then there's going to be a lot of shame, embarrassment, and guilt around anything you feel sexual about. So you many times turn it off. If you have a medical condition that makes sex awkward, many times if people have a colon cancer or some kind of a colon problem, then they'll have to wear an ostomy bag. That's really difficult for them to be excited about sex or feel comfortable with sex. Or if you had any kind of cancer, prostate, breast cancer, or any kind of disease, diabetes, hypertension, the medications for those can all affect your desire, your libido, your ability to achieve an erection, and sex may become awkward for you. You have less limited exposure to healthy sex. If you grew up in a home where people were not healthy with sex, they never talked about it, they never showed affection, or the opposite, where they were, always doing things to hurt each other sexually or abusing each other somehow, those things can really affect how you'll be comfortable, whether you'll be comfortable with sex or not. And you have unrealistic expectations. A lot of people just think they'll naturally be great. Nobody is naturally great. In fact, the worst sex you'll ever have is the first time you have sex. And from that point, if you're not careful, if you don't keep it the kind of process where you don't judge yourself, where you stay open, then you will end up feeling more awkward about it. Or you're afraid or embarrassed, or you risk rejection or judgment from your partner if you feel like you might not be in control of what you're feeling. All of these feelings can cause an awkwardness with sex. You don't know how to go about it. You don't know how to be healthy with it. Now, here are my suggestions. I don't I think if you want to eliminate that feeling of awkwardness, then you're going to have to get more comfortable. You're going to have to step up and at least broach the topic so that something can happen and you can eventually start growing into this area of your body. And the first thing is quit thinking you know and be vulnerable to the process of an open mindset, of learning, of being curious. That's a very first step and the biggest step, because once you say, I understand this is a process, it's going to be continuing. I'm going to be better at this if I will stay open and not judge myself or my partner, then sex is going to become a wonderful thing for you. You stop making assumptions about what your partner may feel or how they may judge you. Many times we become our own worst critic because we already assume what our partner's going to say. Listen, I'm a sex therapist, and I know many partners come in with someone that is awkward or dysfunctional with sex, and they're willing to work on it with their partner, but they're not willing to work on it if their partner closes them out or shuts the door to even opening the topic. If you have a dysfunction sexually, then the most important thing is that you get treatment. And you get treatment because when you go to your doctor, you tell them the truth of what's going on so they can get the other professionals that are going to help you involved. If you delay physical sex so you can actually form a friendship, then you're going to be more likely to have a better sex life. Now, the reason for this is because most of us, our biggest fear is getting vulnerable with someone, especially if we're awkward about sex. So it only makes sense if you delayed the actual sexual act and you worked on developing a better friendship, so you actually were close and you felt safe with this person, then revealing and talking about what's going on with you sexually can really help. And your partner, you're already encouraging them by being honest with them and sharing something that's very close and personal in your life. If you educate yourself about sex, if you dispel myths about orgasms and about other areas of sex that you're assuming you know, rather than assuming or just thinking, well, this is, anybody can do this, it's natural. Sex is not always natural. For some people, it's not. If you don't grow up with healthy models or with people talking openly about sexuality as part of your overall health, then you're going to feel awkward about it. You're not going to even know how to broach the discussion of talking about it. So really, the more education you have, the better you understand your own body and the way you change, the better able you're going to be able to encourage your partner to have that same mindset and open up the topic of sexuality so you can be free to talk about it and please each other. And lastly, don't make sex bigger than it is. I mean, honestly, sex in a healthy relationship is 10 to 20% of the relationship. In an unhealthy relationship, it becomes 80 or 90%. Don't ever give the physical act of sex that power. You want to put your power into building and establishing a close emotional connection. If you have that, then sexuality can become easier to talk with. You can use more sex play. You can use more fantasy. You can do all the kinds of things of exploring and understanding where you are now sexually and where your partner is and how you can please each other by this act of love. So I think the idea of you being awkward in sex is not the big deal that you think it is. What's more important is you feel awkward now. Are you open to the idea of learning and becoming more comfortable with the skin you're in?